Okay, so I guess people are still joining in, and I'll keep admitting them as they come in. But yeah, so I hope most of you have gone through the 30-day course now. I see a lot of um, questions coming in on the community, and I know that there are a few things that keep popping up over and over again. So I thought maybe, I could um, maybe discuss few of those things today, and of course open to your questions as well. um, but while people join in, I just wanted to talk about one thing that's, I think, been popping up many times, and that is how do I get started, and how do I choose my niche, right? um, and I think I've said this before, but I want to reiterate something when it comes to finding your niche. And that's there are various types of content that people can create, right? So one is a generalistic content, right, which is, let's say, around beauty and well-being and travel to a certain extent, where you don't have to be an expert in the subject to write about it. And then there is a specialist content, which is technology or finance or law or, medicine. Those are the areas where you really need to have some understanding of the subject to really do justice to what you're writing. Now, that understanding can come from your background, or it is because you worked in that space for a very long time. So when you're just starting out, you don't really have to worry too much about your niche to begin with. You can start with generic content. You can explore various fields and figure out what is it that's working best for you, right? So one of the first places to start is something that you know of already. For example, let's say if you're a parent and you want to write, about parenting, you would know that instinctively. You know that from real time experience, and you could probably tell better stories about it, right? Now, are there any companies which will pay you to write parenting content? And that's something you'll have to go out and research and see that maybe, let's say, Johnson and Johnson is looking for uh, real life story bloggers or something like that, right? So we need to figure that out. Yeah. Or, for example, I think somebody shared their link today in the WhatsApp group. If you're into beauty and wellness, for example, you could talk about products and review them and give tips, etc. Of course, with a disclaimer saying that, these are um, this is not professional advice. Yeah. And of course, you can work with various companies. Like, I know there are consumer care companies that do outsource content, where you can, write maybe their Amazon descriptions. You can, write a lot of other things, blogs, etc., for them as well. So those are the general places that you can explore and experiment. If you want to get into the highly paid category, you will have to look at some sort of expert places where expert opinion is needed, and that only comes with practice, right? If you, for example, are an engineer, maybe you could find more uh, it easier to get into technology writing. Yeah. And I'm sorry if I feel very distracted because I'm letting people in at the same time. If you, let's say, have a background in law, then you can write for law firms and, get sort of make that your niche. But if you're just beginning, don't worry about it too much. Like, explore, experiment a little bit, write whatever you can. The more you practice, the better you get at writing in different tonalities, different styles. And ultimately, as you work with it, you sort of figure out where is it that you find it easiest to write. Yeah. And then that is where you start focusing your energies on. So that those are my 2 cents on how do you pick a niche, and should you even worry about it at this point in time. And I hope that helps. Okay, so with that, I'm happy to take questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and then, I could just call you out and you can unmute yourself, and we could take those questions. Anandi, um, could you unmute yourself and state your question?
Hi, Supriya. Actually, my doubt is how to do research while writing a content, on what platforms we can do research to write unknown topics.
Okay. It's an interesting question, and that keeps coming up again very often. And I would say, honestly, Google is the best place, or any other search engine is the best place. I don't believe in, like, you don't need expensive database access or resource access to really find content that you need to write on. Yeah. I mean, you've seen some of the work that I shared today, right? And I write a huge variety of topics for senior leadership, for platforms like the World Economic Forum. And I've been doing it for 15 years now. And Google is the place that could give you access to a lot of these places, right? So the idea is only to figure out the right keywords that you're searching for and figure out various iterations of, permutations and combinations of those keywords to see what throws up the most relevant results. And I think after 2, 3 times when you do this, you'll sort of get a hang of what kind of results are coming up and how are they relevant to what you're writing. And like I also said, that for every piece of content I write, I at least read 10 to 12 articles to get a sense of what I want to write, right? And what other people are saying. But from a standpoint of where to go research, I haven't found a better place than Google to really find what I want to look at. I hope that answers
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Great. Manish, could you unmute yourself, please?
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah. Hi, Manish.
Yeah. My question is about writing a general books, like books on your on life experience, and books on motivations, and books on like those kind of book would like
Hmm.
to write. Then how should I proceed?
You want to write it as an author, or you want to write it for other people?
As an author, about the
Okay.
yes, so many good things I have, means I
Hmm.
have habit of writing diary, so
Hmm.
many good things it is there, but those all content organizing in a book, it needs some kind of story, it needs some kind of paragraphs connectivity in all those things. So from last 1 2 months I am going through that, but could
Hmm.
not able to find any proper guidance that how should I proceed.
Okay, so that's an interesting question, actually, and I'm going to keep this very short because this is not relevant to the rest of the community. But I do coach people on how to write books, and I also ghostwrite books for people, right? And writing a book is very different from writing short form content like blogs or articles, because that takes a whole different thought process. So there is an Instagram handle I have, which I think is a bit dormant right now, but there's a lot of interesting content out there, and it's called Book to Business Academy. So you can go search for it and look at some of the tips there. The first thing to do is to outline. This is sort of general advice because it's applicable to the others as well. The first thing before you write any piece of content is to outline. Yeah, what is it that you want to say and how the narrative is going to flow, right? Till you don't get the outline in place, it's not going to result into anything, especially when it comes to a book. Because you're thinking, even if you write an ebook, it's like some 15, 20,000 words that you have to write. And if you're like thinking of a full-fledged book, it is usually 40 to 60,000 words that you'll have to write. So, so that kind of thought process is easy to get lost, and the outline sort of brings you back to where what you were thinking about, right? And I also advise my clients to sort of keep an Excel sheet of all the stories that they want to tell, and then map those stories to the outline and say, okay, this story makes sense here. And then when you're writing it, then finally, when you actually sit down to write it, that outline, those stories, those research material, like I also ask them to put that research material in the Excel sheet and say, this chapter, here's what the data that I want to reference, and so on and so forth. This research, these kind of examples, and then it all sort of comes together. So um, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave it at that because the rest of the folks are not looking to writing their own books. But if needed, we could like have a chat on it later on.
Is there any platform to learn there, ma'am, about that?
I think maybe you could go to self-publishing school, and they have like a lot of interesting information on writing books. Self-publishing school.com, I think that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Bhanu, Do you want to?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, hi.
Thank you, ma'am, for the chance. So I have this doubt. Now you are a content writer, and we have joined this meeting because we are considering you as a content writer. So
Mhm.
my doubt is, what did you do to become the person that you are now? To become the content writer that you are now?
Okay, so there were many things. I think there are many things. One is I figured this is what I want to do, right? So that realization itself took
No,
me.
no, no, no. I want to make it very specific, ma'am. I
Hmm,
understand that you love writing.
yeah.
Otherwise, you can't be a content writer.
Hmm.
So how did you train yourself to write the way that you are writing through videos or through blogs or through some articles I have been seeing in the group?
So
Because yeah, yeah, yeah. Please
I
go on,
didn't
ma'am.
go like I didn't look at training as a particular thing that could teach me writing. I just wrote. Yeah. And that's what I keep telling people in this group as well. Two things will make you the best writer that you could be. One is reading and one is writing. Yeah. So when I came to that place where I needed to become a content writer, till then what I was building competency was via reading everything that I possibly could, right? And then when I decided, yes, I want to write, I kept writing a lot. Yeah. So I consider first drafts to be rubbish, right? So when you write a first draft, I never send out something that I write immediately, right? I go over it once, twice, thrice, four times, and I keep improving the same thing over and over. And finally, when I'm happy with it, I send it out. But even to find like I didn't go around finding clients from the get-go, right? I didn't say, okay, today I've decided to be a content writer and tomorrow onwards I'm going to get clients. I wrote a lot for myself, which is why you see all of these articles that I've shared are my bylines, right? Because I wanted the quality to be where these publications would be willing. Like, it's not easy to get your article on a World Economic Forum, right? Presidents and I don't know whoever is writing for that platform. So you need to be really, really good. So I kept writing and I kept improving. I can't say that I went through some, sort of a course or watched any videos. I didn't do that. I just like my English was already good because of the reading, and the writing became better by practice. So these are just the only two things. Um, but that didn't put me in a highly paid category immediately, right? What put me there was building this portfolio, right? So when I send a portfolio to a client today and they see that my byline is on World Economic Forum, they know that what I'm writing is going to be good, right? So there is no question of sending like a negotiation or anything because they know like she can write from a CEO level standpoint, and that came from just continuous practice. And all those people who join the cohort as well, I keep telling them that unless you practice and you either get feedback yourself or get feedback from other people. I got a lot of peer feedback. Got a lot of feedback from these editorial teams as well. So that's what sort of builds your competency. I hope that
Thank-
answers your
Yeah,
question.
I got it, ma'am. The reason I'm asking this question is because there are people on the online. So somebody is selling some content writing course, and somebody else will come up with a different name for the same course because they are just discovering new names.
Hmm.
And I am like, what is this nonsense? Because there is some guy who is charging 14,000, 15,000. When I got into his course through my friend, he was actually selling what was available on the YouTube.
Okay.
He was telling
I
that
hope.
he was just repeating it, but he is a very good
Hmm.
salesperson. That I can understand.
Okay. I don't know. So again, for the cohort, people who join the cohort have said the same thing that I'm not giving you a course. What we are doing is going to be hands-on training. So they are writing basically assignments for their portfolio. I mean, they choose what they want to write. What I'm going to do is dissect it and tell them how to do it better while giving them some tips on why am I saying certain things. So I honestly like I don't believe that you can learn writing through just a course unless you write. I mean, I can tell you how it's done, but unless you practice, it's just not going to give you any benefit. So writing is the only way to learn how to write.
I got it, ma'am. Just before we joined this meeting, so there was a question popped up in the WhatsApp group. Can I use ouch some kind of words that you use. So is that really important now? Because when I talk, I don't use those kind of words. So does it really important to use those kind of words to get attraction?
Again, it depends. Again, so if you see, one of the things that I shared in one of the links that I sent today from one of my writing is every before you write a content piece, you need to decide on the purpose of that content. Yeah. What do you want to do with it? And that will decide the tone, that will decide the words you want to use, that will decide, how formal, informal, how long, how short is that content going to be? Is it going to be conversational? Is it going to be very business-like? So it's not like if I use those words in my emails because I wanted that email to convey my personality, and that was my choice, right? But if you're writing, for example, I write for tech companies, or if I wrote that World Economic Forum article, if you read it, those words are not used there because the intent of the communication is not to show my personality, but rather to communicate an important piece of information. So ultimately, it's less about the kind of words you use and more about the intent of what that uh, content is supposed to do.
Got it, got it.
Cool. Thank you. Kaushik, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Go on.
You can hear me, na?
Yes.
Madam, I have a few questions. The first one is this copywriting and content writing. Which do you think pays more and why?
So there is no right or wrong answer to this. It depends on what you're good at.
It's more,
And also sorry?
it's more remunerative. Which pays more, content writing or? Because
So that's what I'm trying to answer, that there's no right or wrong answer to this, right? There are copywriters who mint money because they get into revenue sharing deals with their clients to say, I will write this copy, but if there are any leads that are converted from it, I get a percentage of that. So if you're able to do that, copywriting is going to give you massive incomes, right? Versus there are content writers like me who will say, I don't take any ownership for how the content is promoted, because that's your SEO teams, your paid campaigns job. I know that if you get traffic to this page, then people will be engaged and people will read it, and for that, I will charge XYZ amount, right? So I make money that way. So their revenue make and highly paid potential in both spaces, and there is also very low paying opportunities in both spaces. It just depends on one, what you're really good at, and two, what kind of clients are you able to convert.
So copywriting is a sort of specialized field, sort of, na?
Yeah, so they're like, if you saw, I think it was email 3 in my course where I explained what these two things are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You mean to say content writing is you are giving information, just general information about anything, and copywriting is you are talking about a particular product.
I would put it this way: content writing is nurturing an audience, and copywriting is selling to them.
Selling to them. Okay. And suppose I learn SEO, will it have any? Will it help in content writing?
Honestly, I've never had to go through a SEO thing ever to be where I am today. And plus, I consistently say digital marketing is not my forte, so I can't give you inputs on that. What usually happens is my clients will give me some keywords that they want incorporated in the content, but I first write what is important, what is relevant to the reader, and then I plug in those. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you learn SEO, great, it just improves your skill set, but I can't really say it's going to make much difference to you as a content writer.
When we write content writing, am I supposed to be a little less formal, as if I'm talking to the reader, something like that? Huh? Just like
Again,
we
it
said.
depends on who you're writing for. Like if you're writing content for an academic publication, there is no scope of being conversational or informal. You
Related
have to
form.
follow the tone they have. So it depends on what your client wants.
And we learn essay writing, comprehension at school level grammar.
Hmm.
It is better to practice all that also, na? Essay
Yes.
writing, comprehension.
So I
Big,
won't
big
say
things
essay
you have to
writing, whereas because
improve
we've
your
moved
content,
on to
make
various
it sensible,
places.
not words, something like that. Will it
I'm
help?
sorry, I lost you in between. Could you repeat
Suppose
that?
comprehension, essay writing and all, will it help in compressing the content into limited, say 500 words, 1000 words
So
in
as
calculation?
much as you can practice on anything, comprehension is definitely very important. Unless you understand what you're trying to say, or
Yes.
convey that
Unnecessary
meaning in simple
details
words.
should not
Uh,
be there. Unnecessary detail should not be there. You will be
no,
taking away the interest of the reader, na, by
yes,
making it too long. So comprehension helps in content
yes.
writing. Oh,
I mean that's
thank
the
you.
base. Cool.
Yes,
Thank you, Kaushik. Gayatri, do you want to come on, unmute yourself?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi, so I have a few questions. So, my first question is with regards to SEO. So, I've had interest in learning about SEO, but I do not know like where do we start? What do we do with regards to SEO? So, like, are there any courses that we should take or something like that? I know you said that there's not as much emphasis on SEO, but I see that having a knowledge of SEO is actually something that provides you more opportunities with respect to getting offers. So that is one reason why I've been interested in learning about it. So can you like please put light on that?
So, like I said, I'm not the digital marketing expert. I've never dabbled into it at all. And maybe there are a lot of people in the community itself who are doing this. So maybe you could check on the WhatsApp group and
Sure.
ask people, and they would be able to direct you to the right courses that they've probably gone through. And that might be beneficial for you.
Okay. So my next question is with regards to portfolio. So how do I go about so I'm just a beginner. I'm a student.
Mhm.
Like I just passed out. So recently, like I've only had one or two jobs. And with this much of experience, how do I go about building a portfolio? So do I like learn about website and then probably join Wix and do it, or like how do I start?
Okay, so your portfolio, and I've been meaning to say it on the group as well. You don't really need a website or anything initially, right? Most of the time when I sent a portfolio to the client, it was a presentation that I converted to a PDF and I sent over. And I still tend to do that. If you look at my website, it doesn't really have any samples of my content or anything. It's more about my life story. And there was a different purpose of putting together that website, right? So and I think LinkedIn is a great place to put samples of your work, because that's where people who are connected to you can directly see it. You can even like put it on Google Drive, create separate folders and send the drive link. Of course, make sure it's accessible to everyone, because then people get irritated when they have to ask for requests. But if you really want, you can, make a website, put your um samples there, etc. But then if you do it, make sure it's like a really professionally done website. It's secure, it looks good, it's navigable. So if you want to get into all that hassle, go ahead, make a website. Otherwise, the easiest way I feel is to you know just um, create a simple WordPress blog, add a couple of posts there, and just put it, create a PDF of who you are, what are your skill sets, um, what are some of the things that you do really really well. Personalize it for the client and say, this is what I can do for you. Write a small snippet for them and say, this is how your content will look like when I'm done with it. And that is more important to you than to them than like sort of seeing what you've done in the past. So my recommendation would be to build a portfolio in just a presentation sort of template, and look at these websites like there are lots of these online publications who allow people to Like the Hindu has an opinion piece, and literally they publish anything, right? I got stuck in a cyclone in Havelock at some point in time in 2016, and I wrote something about that, and I sent it to opinion at the Hindu, or I think that's the email ID. And they
Okay.
published it, and it was such a rubbish piece that I've never shared it with anybody because I hated what I'd written. But they published it, so it's just, you need to find those places where people. And now I can say that the Hindu, my article was published in the Hindu, right? So you find those places, and then you say send them little snippets and get it published, and that then becomes um, your portfolio in its own right. Yeah.
Uh, I had one more question with respect to portfolio itself. So I tend to
Okay.
write a lot of short stories and poems, and especially with poems, they do get published. So, like, can I add those also in my portfolio? No.
If you're sending it to become a content writer for a business, please don't send them poems. I think that, so I've evaluated a lot of people, of course, for business writings, and that's one of the biggest turnoffs, because you're sending them something that's not relevant to them. How are they going to use your poems in their work, right? It doesn't tell them how good you are as a content writer, because poems and content writing are literally very divergent
Very
fields.
different.
Yeah.
That is the reason why I have been like
Don't
stopping
send it.
myself with this. Like, let me ask. And
Rather write a blog which is relevant
okay,
to the company that you're sending out to, and then say, this is what I've written, and um, do you think this is something that you could, be
and
interested?
in a similar line, if I write a story
Mhm.
for, like, let us say specifically for the company, then it's all right because that's something that I've done previously for the company I was working for. So I
Like a
promoted.
fictional story,
Yes, yes.
as long as you can tie it to something that they want to say, sure, why not? Like
Okay.
that would showcase that yes, you can write interesting content, but make
Okay.
it business relevant.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sudhakar,
Very good evening, Supriya.
hi, good evening.
First of all, thank you very much for the wonderful post you have put out,
Thank
and
you.
there's a lot of engagement, and the WhatsApp group that you've created. I mean, I've never seen such engagement in terms of content writing. So,
Thank you.
yeah, really, yes. No, because somebody was saying, I mean, people develop courses and then they sell them, but then either they do a very good course, but the participants are not able to align with the goals and objectives of that course. They don't act. See, and not taking action on the part of the participant is itself the major problem to become a content writer. Anyway, as this is a highly paid content writing session, I just wanted to ask you, see, what are the elements we require to start a content writing agency?
Okay. Um, One is, of course, so it's a step-by-step process, right? Um, and I'll tell you how I started my first business, which I quit later, and then I started another one.
Right.
So when we got our first client in that agency, um, honestly, maybe I'm not the best person to give this advice because I have this habit of jumping into things first and then thinking about it later. Uh, but I think how we did from a agency building standpoint was first to figure out what can we do ourselves. And our initial days were only like sort of keeping the lights on, making sure we have enough clients, reaching out to people, networking, activating that network, telling people that okay, we are doing this, and we're available to take on business. And there are obviously multiple simultaneous things that you have to do, because when you're building an agency versus when you're writing, you're becoming a freelance writer, there are slightly different approaches. So in an agency, you also have to, people is going to be your biggest challenge, right? In fact, one of the reasons I started this course was because now I want to convert into an agency, and I didn't have any writers that I could hire. So I said, okay, let me coach some.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought so as much. Yeah.
yeah, so people is going to be a big challenge, right? So you have to constantly keep looking at resumes and profiles and seeing who are the people who can get on board. So you have to keep that So two leads you have to keep warm, right? One is the clients who will come in, and is the type of people you can bring into the system. If you're starting out, I would recommend going a freelancer route is great. Like you can also build a network of freelancers and you can start outsourcing to them. Some systems and processes are very important. Like your clients are going to ask, like, for contracts, you will probably need some sort of, a current bank account. For the longest time, we did make do with a savings account, but yes, at some point, and if your revenue crosses 20 lakhs, you will need your GST registration. So all those formalities, etc., also need to be done. If you're bringing any partners on board, you need to do some sort of legal agreement. So there are multiple things that go on. But I think the first would be just to outreach and see how much business you're getting, right? Because you could be a one-person agency, yeah.
Right.
And then expand from there. Does that make sense, or did I confuse you?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot of work on this because I
Mhm.
mean, I am also thinking on similar lines that what you are doing, but then I'm trying to partner with a friend,
Yeah,
rather one of my mentors. Yeah, thank you so much, Supriya.
no problem.
Nice of you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Jayant?
Priya, good evening. Can you hear?
Yes, good evening, Jayant.
Actually, I don't have any question as such, but a couple of suggestions.
Sure.
That along with this 30 days email, no, you can also put out one FAQs,
Mhm.
because if you have seen, no, in the group, there are a lot of repeated questions.
Yeah, so Aarti from my team is already putting together an FAQ. It's taking us a bit of time because we're like totally bandwidth constrained right now, but it will be up in some time.
So that whenever somebody joins fresh, you can just put a link to him and say, first go through this, so that their question, most of them will be answered to begin with.
No, that's already work in progress.
Very good. The second is about SEO. A lot of people have queries about SEO. I feel that if you are publishing some of your content, then it should take care of few parameters of SEO at least, so that they possibly start ranking based on your own niche or subject or topic what you are writing.
I'm going to respectfully decline the suggestion, Jayant. It doesn't work for me.
It might not be because you're not tried, I suppose. Right.
Sure.
For any website also, if you happen to say, that some keywords are ranking on Google as and when, for the services, that is because same thing, they have taken a lot of pain to put the SEO parameters, and that is what they rank on the Google,
So
basically.
can I offer one suggestion of my own, Jayant? Let's do
Sure.
this offline because I think this is a Q&A time and a lot of people are also waiting for questions. So let's address
Okay.
the questions here and you can drop me the suggestions on WhatsApp.
Sure.
Sounds good?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Partha, do you want to pop up with your question?
Thanks a lot for your 30-day free course. I was really
Okay.
impressed. Thanks a lot for
Thank
this Q&A question session also.
Thank
My
you.
question is, normally the digital marketing team, it has the responsibility of publishing content and then they do the required job to get traction for that.
Yeah.
So how do I pitch in, as I do not have any digital marketing knowledge, but only I have expertise on content writing.
So are you asking me as a freelance content writer, how do you support them?
Yeah.
Have your clients specifically asked for digital marketing expertise from your end?
No, see, I have, I am a soft skills trainer. So I also keep writing articles on my website. So I felt, okay, this could be another source of income for me. So why not to try?
Okay.
But before that, I just wanted to clear this point.
So I think on the chat, there's a lot of conversation going on about Sanjay Shenoy. There is also Digital Deepak. These are the guys who run courses specifically on how do you get those digital marketing skills to, rank your articles, to, build those kind of SEO rankings, etc. So maybe those are the places you could check with. I don't want to comment on it. Like I said, that's not my area of expertise. But are you in the WhatsApp community? I think there will be There are a
Right.
lot of people who talk about this on the WhatsApp community, so you could definitely get some input from
I
them.
mean, without having any knowledge of digital marketing like SEO and all, can we pitch ourselves as a content writer?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been doing. Like, I
Okay.
don't, I don't do anything on digital or SEO because that's not my forte and that's also not my interest. Yeah, my like my clients want me to write because I understand the subject and I can put it in a way that is appealing to their reader. Then they have digital marketing teams who do the, you know, the SEO thing and promotions and all of those campaigning is their responsibility, not mine. Yeah, and that's not only technology. I've written for coaches based across the globe. I've written for authors, but they all have their, if not in-house, they do have digital freelancers who are working with them to, you know, sort out those things. So I don't think you need that to really just work on content. But yes, if you want to rank your content by yourself, then like Jayant also said, you need some knowledge of how to do that.
It's very, very clear now. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Manil, did I get your name
Hi,
right?
Supriya. Hi, am I audible?
Hi. Yes, hi.
So I really apologize at the very onset. I may not be able to switch on my camera.
No worries.
And but to begin with, this is one of those most incredible platforms I actually want to stick by. You know, because
Okay.
I've attended a lot of webinars. I've given my webinars on my own also.
Mhm.
And this is an honest confession. I've never read even a single email which it sent me over a period of 1 month. But now I will, after listening to you.
Oh my
This is
God.
going on.
Okay.
I normally I do not listen to coaches and everything, but unless the someone who's taking the mentorship program or the entire session is very lucid and very humane, I certainly would. You are a great teacher. Thank you very much,
Thank
Sophia,
you.
being with all of us. And apart from this, simultaneously, I feel a little left out and unfortunate. I'm still not a part of that WhatsApp group. Have I missed upon
Mhm.
something? I really do want to be a part of that.
So
So
in the 30-day course, there is, I think, one of the emails or maybe two emails where I've sent a link and I've said that you can fill in a form to, you know, join the WhatsApp group. Let me also
like I
post
said,
it on the chat now.
I did not read any of emails, so I will now.
Yeah, I posted on the
So I now would. Yeah. I will
chat
take a
so
note of that.
others
Yes,
can
ma'am.
also
Right.
join in.
So, not taking too much time of the entire house, Supriya, I have very quick questions, two quick questions in fact. I do not write to get paid, right?
Hmm.
I'm mainly into fiction.
Okay.
But the problem is nobody's a taker or some kind of person who's taking the kind of genre I write. And I write about philosophy and art. And
Okay. You write
I'm
philosophy fiction.
philosophy fiction, and I basically build upon history. I'm mainly
Okay.
into fiction. Yeah, so I'm basically building upon history and putting my poetic license and creative liberty upon that.
Hmm.
That's what I'm working upon. I write mainly scripts and everything, and
Okay.
as let's say as a consequence of that, I write articles also in Medium.
Okay.
This is one. So there are two things to it. One, I would want to strengthen my Medium, but the
Hmm.
problem inherently which I face is the challenge which I face is that I do some research upon it, but by the time I sit down to write upon that article, I lose the momentum. So
Hmm.
once again, after let's say a gap of 2-3 days, when I actually have to rewrite that article, then I have to research everything again, which of course is very time consuming. So
Okay.
I would want to work upon the consistency part. This is where I would want you to pitch in and let me grow with every article I write. Two, are there any takers by any chance for philosophy and art? Because I do not want to get paid for something which I do not know anything about, like technology and
Hmm.
IT sector and everything. But in case at all, if there's any possibility where you can get paid for writing philosophy, fiction, world history, and everything, do let me know about that as well. Thank you.
So I haven't obviously dived into this genre, but when you say it, I feel that there might be, and I've come across some Instagram accounts which talk about, like you said, you know, philosophies and concepts and art, etc., who might need some support in terms of managing those accounts. And there are, of course, art galleries or artists, etc., who might also want to outsource some content, maybe, you know, some sort of commentary or a blog, etc., on art pieces or art styles, etc. So I'm sure there is a market, but I haven't researched on it. What I would recommend is go see who are the people who are talking about this, how often, and then you can definitely pitch to them saying that, hey, you know, you do this, how about I help you creating some content around that, right? Or how about I start an Instagram presence for you or something? And I'm sure there would be some sort of monetization possible via that. Does that help?
Right, it does. It indeed does. Also, the kind of courses you run, like I said, I may be left out because I'm not a part of the WhatsApp group as of now. So, how do I get to know about your current courses, which you basically run to give mentorship and program to people like us,
So
especially in terms of content writing and how to write? Yeah.
So I don't run courses, honestly. This was a 30-day email thing as an attempt to, like I said, I have a vested interest in this because I'm drowning in work and I wanted to sort of find people who I can outsource work to, and that wasn't happening. So I said, okay, let me coach people. I did do a mentorship program, which is starting next week, but the application for that closed in Feb. So if I do another cohort, I will put it out as a broadcast email and I will also put it on the WhatsApp group. So you can apply for that if you're interested, and we can have a conversation. But for now, currently, there's nothing running as such. But
Right.
joining the
Thanks,
WhatsApp group
Rajat.
will keep you updated on what's going on.
Yeah, I've just filled the form out, by the way.
Super.
I've just filled it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Bani Prata?
Am I audible?
Yes. Hi.
In which platforms I can write regularly and they can check it out?
You might have to explain that question to me.
Now I want to know in which websites I can write regularly in article and they can check it how I'm progressing as a fresher.
I honestly don't know of any where you could do that. If anyone from the group knows of any such platform, please let Panibrata know. Kapil, could you go on mute, please?
अच्छा आज आ रहा है
Kapil, could you go on mute, please?
Acha, Supriya, I think you can mute everybody,
Yes,
and once somebody raises a hand, you can unmute them. I think that would be ideal. Thank you.
I did mute everyone. I think he just unmuted by accident. Cool. I hope Baniprata, the community would be able to help here because I personally don't know of any platforms where you could write regularly and get feedback. On the WhatsApp group, though, if you've written something, people are more than willing to help and give you feedback. So that would be like a place that you can explore. So I hope that answers your question. Kamaljeet?
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
Yeah, my question is like, where do we see this after these 30 days of your email course as a fresher? Where do we see ourselves? This is my first question, and I'll come up with the second question after that.
Sure. So the intent of the 30-day course was to sort of tell people who are in the content writing space some of the ways that they can up level the quality of their content, some ways how they can approach their clients, some ways how they can sort of build more credibility as a writer. So I think if you've gone through the course, you will know some of the things that I keep talking about, which is how do you improve the like how quality is very important, how building a portfolio is really important, and how do you figure out where your clients are. So if you're a fresher and you want to start writing content, the first thing would be to write a few articles, create that portfolio and say, okay, this is my writing style, this is how I can address a certain topic, so people get to see what is your thought process, how do you approach topics, etc. Then figure out what are some of the areas like industries that you want to explore. Do you want to write on wellness? Do you want to write on travel? Do you want to write maybe on, I don't know, consumer goods? And then see which are the companies in that space that you can, write to. Or you can maybe as a fresher start with some of the agencies, right? I think there are a lot of these content agencies around who are always looking for writers. So you can send in your resume, you can send in your sample content, and then they will start giving you assignments, and you could build from there. And I think Kapil has shared some lots of interesting suggestions on the WhatsApp group in terms of links of where you can go and find writing work. So once you start writing for them, you also build more, how do you say, expertise in writing, and then you can start approaching clients on your own and saying, hey, let me write for you. I hope that helps.
Okay. And my second question is like since you have started this journey around 2015, if I'm not wrong. Okay. And it has been a very great journey for you. So where do you see, like, means, are you looking forward to build up a community of content writers under you who can help you in expanding your business? Like in that case, freshers like us can join your team. Okay, and we'll get an exposure to work with like a role model for yourself. Like,
Thank you, Kamaljeet, for the model remark. But so, okay, my life goal is to work not more than 4 hours a day and maybe 3 days, 4 days a week. Yeah, I'm currently at the 6 hour a day mark, 6 days a week, 5 days a week. Sorry. So I would not be expanding my business because um, I think so. I don't have big ambitions. So unfortunately, I won't be building like a team of 200, 300 people, which was my previous business. And I voluntarily stepped out of it and I said, I don't want to do this. What I will be doing, and one of the um, the reasons I started that cohort was also to build a small group of 8 to 10 people that I can work with consistently, and pass on some work their way. So while I'd love to work with a lot of different people, I don't see in the near future that is happening. But that said, there are lots of agencies out there, who are always looking for content writers at every tier, right? And I think this is one of the most demanded professions out there today. So even if it's not with me, I think there's tons of opportunity out there that you could totally capitalize on.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Yeah.
for your answer.
Sirish?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible, Sophia?
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, hi. My question is, I have been in an unfortunate situation. Usually, when you say to select your niche, you have to keep a balance between your hobby and a sector which pays you good, right? Unfortunately, my hobbies are current affairs, which do not pay you good. I mean, I don't think so. That comes in a very this thing. And have worked in travel industry, which again is not a very good paymaster. So can you suggest us some industries which pays us good, or how we can research to, how we can come to know about, industries which are on a higher, which pay you good basically, when it comes to this thing, you know?
Okay, so like I said, if you there are many ways to think about what is highly paid, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to get paid more per word, for example, which seems to be the standard everywhere, you need to look at the places that want specialist content, right? Like I said, finance, law, medical, technology, because there are fewer people out there who are able to generate content, and therefore people are willing to pay more because the demand, like the supply is less and the demand is more. But if you're looking to, let's say, write in, for example, consumer goods or travel, and like you rightly said, there are a lot of people writing in that space, and therefore people are not willing to pay much because they know if you don't, if they don't pay you, somebody else would be okay doing that, right?
Okay.
But to get into specialists, you really need to then start working on that, multiple times, really need to read about stuff. And like you said, your expertise is current affairs. Maybe look at platforms like Your Story or Ink 42, who also want staff writers, right? All these publications where they would be willing to, or even the newspapers, etc. They're always looking for staff writers. So you could be one of those folks, right? And Fast Company. So they're all folks talking about current affairs. So you could get some input there. But the other thing to monetize is also how quickly you can finish a piece of work, right? So, for example, let's say you like to write about travel and you've written about it, and it takes you just 30 minutes to shoot off a blog, right? Versus the 4 hours it will take you to write a specialist piece. You can still charge like 1/4 of the price, but still have the value of the time that you know, kept for yourself met. So one is, of course, how do I get paid more per article? And the other is also how do I do it in lesser time? So I'm getting the value that my time requires. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And see, this would be a very naive question, but yet I would like to ask it. Please give me some tips. How do you deal with writer's block? You know, sometimes I really, I mean, even I think I've been in this industry for almost 1 year, but still I do struggle in a very bad way, to manage it because my brain doesn't settles at one place, it just pops off, So how do you manage it? Because sometimes, you say first you read things and then you interpret it, and sometimes when you read it, then putting it in a right perspective, you tend to, it just tends to escape your mind. So how do you deal with it? Any generic tips which you can give out of your 15 years experience?
The writer. So this is what I struggled with last week. I almost didn't get anything done because I just uh, couldn't. So one thing that really works for me is taking a break, because sometimes, like, when you're reading the same thing over and over, when you're obsessing over it, when you're anxious over it, your brain just stops working, right? So taking a break really works for me. So I think, in fact, Monday this week, I just spent the whole day sleeping. I was like, I'm not going to do anything. I picked up some Harry Potter fan fiction and I was just reading through that. I was like, okay, no work at all. I even put a message to all my clients that I'm not available today. We will talk about everything tomorrow. So I took the entire day off, and that really, so it refreshes your brain, right? You're doing things that you're taking away attention from something that was blocking you. So that's one way that totally always works for me. Second is also like a, because I get multiple types of work, right? So if I'm stuck on one piece, then I pick up something else which is maybe diametrically opposite of what this one that's giving me trouble is, right? So if I'm writing a tech piece and it's not coming out the way I want, I'll go off and write something on coaching or maybe wellness. And that sort of like breaks that connection, breaks that anxiety. And I also get a feeling that, okay, something is done, right?
Okay.
And then I'm able to come back. But that said, one of the things that consistently helps me break writer's block is, again, the outlining part, right? And the collecting all the material part. So somebody was also asking, like, I come back to an article, I've already forgotten the research and I have to do it again. So every time I research something, and I think nowadays there are tools also that allow you to collect what you've researched.
Yeah, you have apps, yeah.
So I'm probably old fashioned, but I've not got around to using it. But what I do is I create a reference document, and everything I'm researching, anything interesting I come across, I copy paste it and I add the link there saying, this is what I referenced this particular article for. So no matter when I come back to it, I'm able to sort of get a mind map of this is what I was thinking, right? And then it's, I'm able to do that. Sometimes if I've just written 2, 3 paragraphs and I'm stuck, it happens because that thought process is not going anywhere. So I
Yes.
scrap those completely and I start afresh with a different narrative, which more often than not then completes the thought. So it's just, or like I'll go for a walk and I think, well, how else can I write it? And that works out. I hope that helps.
Yeah, to some extent.
Yeah.
To a great extent. Yeah. Thank you.
Rajiv, I think I'm going to take one last question from Rajiv because we're already at 9:54, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, my question is like for let's say for cricket, we have got Virat Kohli to look up to it. You can watch many other cricketers to see that, oh, this is the paradigm. But for writers, where is the paradigm? Like, for example, if I want to know whether my writing is good or not, I'm the judge. And then it's only after the thing is published or it gets into the public eye that I get to know, oh, this is how people reacted to it. So is there anything wherein there is a quality check of writing where people who are from this kind of domain where there is no team, but we want to get it checked, like, oh, this is good or not? So there are two parts to it. How can we get our writing checked? And second is, where is that source where we can get really quality writing to look up to?
That's an interesting question. Um, so I personally think firms, and again, it depends on which domain you're writing. Yeah. But let's say for my domain, companies like McKinsey, HBR, Bain, BCG, ENY, PwC, they World Economic Forum, what else is there? So all these are like really epitome of good content, right? Their pieces are very well thought through. They tell stories, they use data, they give you opinions and not just regurgitated material from across the web. National Geographic is brilliant as well. I like articles from even fast company. They're like very well thought through, etc. So there are various these publications that are there that you could read on a regular basis to get a sense of how you can present a piece of information and what good quality writing looks like. Um, there is The Economist, again, something that I really like. But to get and to get the quality of your writing checked, I think again there are tools like, so for example, if you use the paid version of Grammarly, for example, it'll tell you for, let's say, and you can set, this is for a knowledgeable audience, this is for a general audience, and this is business tone, informal tone. And then when you feed your article there, it'll tell you, is it too complicated? Is it like how, what is the comprehension level like? Is it reading easy? Is the sentence too long? Is a word used incorrectly? So now you can use these AI tools to really make it more read worthy. But I still feel that getting human feedback is important because ultimately they are the readers. So if you have a small group of peers who are willing to, and if you see all these articles that get published in journals, etc., are also peer reviewed, right? So if you can get a few people together who are willing to give you feedback on what you're writing, maybe at least the first few pieces, you'll get a sense of what is resonating with your reader and what's not. And over time, you build confidence in your own abilities, right? So today, I'm not looking at anybody else to see, am I writing well? I'm just looking at how is it being received by my reader. So over time, that just falls in place.
Thanks.
Makes
Thanks for
sense.
the answer.
Okay. Okay, we have 3 more minutes. Peter, do you want to ask your question? No. Okay, cool. So let me just quickly scroll through the chat and see if there is anything else. Okay, when you say highly paid, what is the range of highly paid? Again, there was one of the emails that I sent on this, which talked about how you need to price your products and services. And the highly paid totally depends on how much money you want to make, right? And then how many people that you need to approach for it. So for example, in per word terms, sometimes like on an average, I think you could say I charge 20 rupees per word, but sometimes I write if I personally write a social media post, sometimes I charge like 3,000 bucks for it for 50 words. So that's not 20 rupees a word. That's a lot, but it just, it depends. I can't give you a range. Okay. That's a chat. I don't think there are any questions here, but great. So like I said, if you have more questions, you can always join the WhatsApp community. Everybody's there is super helpful, super willing to answer questions. And I also pop in once in a while. And I'll try and do these Q&A once a month and answer your questions. So that's it from me today. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you so much, Supriya.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you very much.